Hey guys, this is Matt Brunet, and welcome to Movie News Weekly, hosted by FilmBook. Now, before we begin, let's take a look at what we got in this week's news, which includes Despicable Weekend 3, Edgar Wright explains himself, what to expect in the next Spider-Man, back for some accounting, Johnson back to Conjuring, Batman the Detective, Vader in a Marvel movie, more problems with the Han Solo movie, Tyler Perry's Oscar, and Judgment Day is coming to AMC. So with that said, let's get things started. This week's top spot belongs to the bros. Despicable Me 3, the latest installment to one of the biggest animated hits of the decade, came charging into the #1 spot at the box office this weekend by making around $75 million. Among the Despicable Me films, this puts it right behind the performance of the second film, which opened with $83 million. Right behind Gru is Baby Driver, which came up to second place with $21 million. This is actually quite a surprise, as this would make it as Edgar Wright's biggest opening and could possibly be his most successful film yet. Meanwhile, Transformers: The Last Knight had to slow its engines way down to third place with $17 million on its second weekend, while Wonder Woman gets close behind in it with fourth with $16 million. As for the other new film this week, the Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler comedy The House flopped at the start by going in 6th place with $9 million, right behind Cars 3 with about $9.5 million. In a way, it's a bit like what just happened with Phil Lord and Chris Miller on the Han Solo movie. In an interview with Variety, Edgar Wright opened up to why he no longer wanted to be the director of Marvel's AntMan and revealed that it was more due to creative differences. Wright stated, "I think the most diplomatic answer is that I wanted to make a Marvel movie, but I don't think they really wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie. It was a really heartbreaking decision to have to walk away after having worked on it for so long." He also went to explain that one moment that broke him was when Marvel decided to do some rewrites without him. "I was the writer-director on it, and then they wanted to do a draft without me. And having written all my other movies, that's a tough thing to move forward, thinking if I do have one of these movies, I would like to be the writer-director." Wright would eventually be replaced by Peyton Reed, and now the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, is scheduled to be out on July 2018. As the first is preparing for theaters, they're already setting up for round 2. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and producer Amy Pascale revealed a bit of what's currently their plans for making the sequel to Spiderman Homecoming. One big piece of info that was mentioned is that there will be a strong chance that the movie's director, Jon Watts, will return. Also, both companies are scheduling preparations to begin in August, while filming shall happen somewhere between April and May of 2018. One more crucial piece that was mentioned is that the title of the sequel will not be Spider-Man Homecoming 2, but rather will have a different subtitle than Homecoming. Film journalists have speculated that this could mean either they have yet to figure out the title of the feature, or that it could spoil which Marvel character could be featured. The sequel is set to be released on July 5th, 2019, and the first one is heading to theaters this Friday. Looks like the tax returns were big enough to make another one. Warner Brothers is setting up to create a sequel to The Accountant. The people that are currently in talks to return for the feature include producers Lynette Howell-Taylor and Mark Williams, writer Bill Dubuque, director Gavin O'Connor, and the star of the feature, Ben Affleck. The story of the first film tells the story of a highly functioning autistic accountant who's saving him and the one he loves from the Treasury Department using his skills he learned when he was an assassin. With a budget of $44 million, it became a success at the box office when it scored $86 million domestically and $155 million worldwide. The next feature Affleck will appear will be as Batman once again for the big DC mashup Justice League, which is coming out this November. Johnson has a new script for The Warrens. David Leslie Johnson has been assigned by New Line in order to write the third installment of The Conjuring. So far, the plot of the movie has been kept under wraps, and a director has not yet been selected, but it has been confirmed that James Wan and Peter Safran will be returning as producers for Atomic Monster. This will not be the first time that Johnson will write for the Conjuring movie, as he has written the second film, which became a success with $320 million at the worldwide box office. The news came soon after it was revealed that a fourth spin-off film of The Conjuring will be in the works with The Crooked Man. The next project he's working on with Wan will be DC's Aquaman, which will be coming out on December 2018. Well, it makes sense for a Detective Comics character to be a detective. In an interview with New Trailer Buzz, Matt Reeves, the director of The Batman, mentioned that the way he viewed Batman shares similar patterns to another character from his movies, Caesar from the recent Planet of the Apes films. However, he would go on to mention that the tone he wants to bring into this Batman movie is to emphasize more the detective aspect. Reeves stated, "In all of my films, what I tried to do, in almost Hitchcockian sense, is use the camera and use the storytelling so that you become that character, and you emphasize that with that point of view. There's a chance to do an almost noir-driven detective version of Batman that is point-of-view driven in a very, very powerful way that hopefully is going to connect you to what's going on inside of his head and inside of his heart." While no official release date has been placed, Warner Bros. Is considering to place the Batman somewhere in 2019. It's not like the legit guy would be in the movie, but just something fun. During a press junket of Spiderman Homecoming, Marvel President Kevin Feige originally planned for Peter Quill from Guardians of the Galaxy to have a Darth Vader action figure around him. Nothing related to Disney or anything, it was something he wanted to do for fun. Feige stated, "Always, we wanted to reveal a certain point in the movie that Peter Quill was a human from Earth. And for a long time, I really thought it was going to be the greatest thing in the world that you're in a spaceship and he's talking to one of the alien characters and he knocks over his bag and one of the alien characters bends down and picks up and it was a Darth Vader action figure and goes, well, what's this?" Why the idea was scrapped was because the director James Gunn thought it would be better for Star-Lord to have a Walkman around him instead of the Vader figure. Looks like they really did leave a mess during production. In the midst of the aftermath of Lucasfilms firing Phil Lord and Chris Miller from the Han Solo spin-off movie, the company went and decided to hire an acting coach for Alden Ehrenreich because they weren't satisfied with the performance he's given during the time of the previous directors were at work. This is just one of the many big changes that the company is doing to the feature in order to take care of damage control after the firing. A lawyer at Lucasfilms mentioned that they are currently obligated to give Lord and Miller credit, but they are currently in negotiations in terms of compensation and what they are owed in terms of the amount of work they have done and what will end up in the final feature. Ron Howard is now the current director of the feature, and he's working on calming things down on the Han Solo set until production resumes on July 10th. We may be too far from Black History Month, but a major piece will be done that would be worthy of it. HBO is going to create a biopic with Sony Pictures TV of the first ever African-American film director, Oscar Micheaux, based on the biography Oscar Micheaux, The Great and Only, The Life of America's First Black Filmmaker by Patrick McGilligan. Among the crew, Charles Murray, the writer of the history remake of Roots, will be writing the script, and Tyler Perry has signed on to play as Micheaux and be an executive producer with Craig Zadan and Neil Marone of Storyline Entertainment. Zadan and Marone stated, "We're thrilled to be partnering with Tyler Perry to bring Oscar Micheaux's inspiring and trailblazing life to HBO. There are so many parallels between the groundbreaking work so that Micheaux's pioneering and Perry's achievements as an artist that it feels like a natural fit." Some of the notable films Micheaux made include Swing, The Notorious Eleanor Lee, The Exile, and his response to Birth of a Nation, Within Our Gates. Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it. It is way too easy to make that joke. Terminator 2 Judgment Day will be returning to the big screen on AMC theaters in both 4K resolution and in 3D. Elizabeth Frank, the executive vice president of AMC Theaters, stated, "Terminator 2 has stood the test of times and is still hailed by critics as one of the best sci-fi movies in film history. Now, the newly restored version of the classic will take the already extraordinary special effects to a whole new level, and AMC is honored to give fans a newly immersive experience of a legendary film, as well as introduce the blockbuster to a new generation." Francois Sipacon of Distrib Film US added, "The 4K 3D resolution and conversion of the film looks stunning, and after 26 years, the film hasn't aged one little bit. AMC Theaters is the perfect fit for the release of a terrific opportunity for Distrib Films US and our partners Metal Rabbit Media, MPRM Communications, and Kyle Floor PR to get the film in front of fans in a spectacularly new way." And that's all I've got for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to head on down to film-book.com for all the latest movie and TV news, along with their columns on the box office and their theatrical release schedule. Also, you can follow them on whatever social media you'd like. And while you're at it, you can follow me on my YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter if you're more into stuff like animation, Disney, and my weird sense of humor. If you were watching this on YouTube, then hit that like button and come subscribe to us, and also leave a little comment on what you think on the news this week. If you were listening to this on a podcast on iTunes or any other podcast service, then don't forget to rate and review what you just heard. Tune in next time for another round of Movie News Weekly, and until next week, see you later, dudes!